"This ain't your range, girl," the colonel chuckled, seeing the small woman standing by the shooting table. Soldiers laughed loudly, waiting for her to miss. She remained silent, squeezed the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. Every shot hit dead center. Someone opened a file, voice trembling. 121 confirmed hits. The colonel went silent. Meet Elena Ward, 32 years old. Long brown hair, slender frame, currently serving logistics duty in the SEAL camp. Daily responsibilities: inventory ammunition, clean old weapons, organize supply storage, assist with light medical care for wounded, distribute meal rations. Teammates respected her dedication, but nobody believed she belonged on the battlefield. Common phrases heard around camp. Ward? Good with paperwork? But shooting? Please. Don't waste ammunition. Let real soldiers train. One morning, the practice range opened for training. Elena was assigned to carry weapons and set up targets. She paused beside a dust-covered M2010 rifle. Her hand rested gently on the weapon, something different flickering in her eyes. The colonel standing nearby noticed, laughing. "This ain't your range, girl." Young soldiers burst into laughter, certain she wouldn't dare shoot. Elena remained silent, continuing to clean the barrel, her hands steady like an old habit. The other soldiers didn't understand what they were seeing. To them, Elena was just another support person who'd somehow ended up in a combat zone. What they couldn't see was her background. Elena had specifically requested assignment to forward logistics because she wanted to serve without drawing attention to her past. She'd grown up in a military family where excellence was expected, not celebrated. Her father had been Army Special Forces, her brother, Marine Recon. She'd learned from childhood that skill was meant for service, not recognition. But Elena had chosen a different path from her family's combat roles. She believed in supporting those who fought, rather than fighting directly herself. That didn't mean she'd forgotten her training. It meant she'd chosen to use different skills for the same ultimate goal: keeping soldiers alive and bringing them home safely. The rifle she was cleaning wasn't just another weapon to her. She could feel its balance, recognize its capabilities, understand its maintenance requirements from experience most people didn't possess. During quiet moments, she'd study ballistics manuals, memorize environmental factors affecting long-range accuracy, calculate adjustments for different scenarios. Knowledge that seemed academic until it wasn't. The younger soldiers would sometimes ask why she spent so much time on equipment maintenance. "Because these tools have to work perfectly when someone's life depends on them," she'd reply. They assumed she meant medical equipment or communication gear. Elena meant every piece of equipment that might be needed to save lives, including weapon systems she hoped never to use again. Her small notebook, officially for logistics tracking, contained additional information: wind patterns, temperature variations, elevation data. Details that would seem random to anyone who didn't understand their application. Elena had learned to hide capabilities that might complicate her chosen role. She preferred to serve quietly, supporting others rather than taking direct action. But sometimes, circumstances required capabilities that couldn't stay hidden. A young SEAL would later recall, "Her eyes when looking through that scope were completely different. Not the eyes of logistics support." When the SEALs practiced shooting, many rounds missed targets at 800 meters, 1,000 meters. Elena stood nearby, cleaning weapons, saying nothing. One SEAL joked, "Ward, you try." Or, "Are you afraid of the recoil?" The colonel joined in. "Give her a few rounds. Let's see how they're wasted." Elena didn't respond, just bent down to accept the rifle. She dropped prone, position perfectly aligned, eye to scope, breathing deeply. Bang! 800-meter target, dead center. Bang! 1,000-meter target, dead center. Bang! 1,200-meter target, completely destroyed. The entire range fell silent. The colonel's forced smile faded as another officer nervously opened a file folder. His voice caught, "Kraken unit. Elena Ward. 121 confirmed hits." The atmosphere exploded in silence. Elena set down the rifle, wiped her hands on her pants, speaking quietly. "Those are just numbers. What matters is how many people came home." But the implications were staggering. Elena hadn't just been assigned to logistics support. She'd requested it as a way to continue serving without using the skills that had made her legendary. The file contained fragments of classified operations: Helmand Province, Fallujah, operations in Syria and Afghanistan that officially never happened. Each entry represented situations where Elena's marksmanship had changed the outcome of engagements that would otherwise have ended in American casualties. Her precision shooting had saved entire units, eliminated high-value targets, disrupted enemy operations across multiple theaters of war. 2,940-meter shot in Helmand Province, the officer read from the file. Single shot eliminated enemy commander, saved surrounded platoon. Fallujah urban engagement, precision shot through narrow opening, broke enemy siege. Operation Desert Storm, multiple long-range eliminations, allowed safe evacuation of wounded personnel. The soldiers listening began understanding they weren't just hearing about impressive marksmanship. They were learning about someone who'd used those skills to save lives on a scale most of them couldn't imagine. Elena had been more than a sniper. She'd been a force multiplier who could change the entire dynamic of battlefield situations through precision application of firepower. "Why logistics?" the colonel asked, his earlier mockery completely gone. "Because I realized I was better at keeping people alive than eliminating threats. I wanted to support missions instead of leading them." "But you kept your skills." "Skills like that don't disappear. You just hope you never need them again." The range remained quiet as the implications sank in. The woman they'd dismissed as support personnel was actually one of the most accomplished snipers in military history. Her choice to work logistics wasn't about lacking capability. It was about choosing how to apply exceptional capability in ways that aligned with her values. Elena preferred to serve by maintaining equipment, organizing supplies, and supporting operations rather than by taking direct lethal action. But when circumstances required it, when lives hung in the balance, those other skills remained available. The soldiers began reassessing everything they thought they knew about their quiet logistics coordinator. An old veteran would later recount, "I was in Fallujah. One shot from nowhere stopped an entire enemy assault. Later found out it was her." Elena Ward hadn't been hiding from her past. She'd been building a different kind of future while keeping her most important skills ready for when they might be needed. News spread quickly. Logistics staff Elena Ward had been a legendary Kraken unit sniper. Many didn't believe it, thinking the files were old records mixed up with someone else. But classified reports confirmed everything. Helmand mission, 2,940-meter shot, eliminated enemy commander, saved entire squad. Fallujah mission, precision shot through narrow gap, broke siege of surrounded unit. Total confirmed, 121 enemy combatants eliminated. During the next training session, the commander invited Elena. "Ward, show them one more time." Elena nodded slightly, dropped prone, aimed. Bang! 1,500-meter target. Perfect center hit. No more doubts remained. The commander turned to address everyone, voice carrying authority. Never forget, the person you called support staff is the reason many soldiers wearing this uniform came home. Those who'd mocked her bowed their heads, nobody daring to say another word. Elena quietly cleaned the rifle, then walked away, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with newfound respect. But the story was more complex than simple skill revelation. Elena's transition from sniper to logistics hadn't been about losing her edge. It had been about choosing how to use her capabilities in ways that aligned with her evolved understanding of service. The hardest shots aren't the longest ones, she'd told a young soldier privately. They're the ones you choose not to take. Her 121 confirmed eliminations represented situations where shooting had been the only way to preserve American lives. Each shot had been calculated not just for accuracy, but for strategic necessity. Elena had learned to live with the weight of those decisions, but she'd also learned that her skills could serve different purposes. In logistics, she could support hundreds of soldiers indirectly. In combat, she could save specific soldiers directly. Both roles had value, but Elena preferred the broader impact of support work. "Why did you really leave Special Operations?" the commander asked during a private conversation. "Because I realized that preventing the need for difficult shots was more important than making them perfectly." "But you could have had any assignment you wanted. Your record would have guaranteed promotions, special assignments, recognition." "I had the assignment I wanted. I was keeping soldiers alive." The commander understood. Elena had chosen service over career advancement, support over spotlight, quiet effectiveness over public recognition. "Do you regret the transition?" Elena considered the question carefully. "I regret that those 121 shots were necessary. I don't regret taking them when they were needed." "And now?" "Now I try to make sure other people don't have to make the same shots I did." Her work in logistics wasn't just about organizing supplies. It was about ensuring that soldiers had everything they needed to complete missions successfully without requiring extreme interventions. Better equipment meant fewer desperate situations. Better planning meant fewer impossible shots needed. Better support meant more soldiers coming home safely. Elena had evolved from being someone who solved problems through precision shooting to someone who prevented those problems from developing. But when prevention wasn't enough, when soldiers' lives hung in the balance, her other capabilities remained available. The young soldiers began understanding that Elena's quiet competence extended far beyond inventory management. They started seeking her advice on tactical matters, equipment selection, mission planning. "Ma'am," one asked, "how do you make decisions under pressure?" "You remember what's most important," Elena replied. "Not the shot, not the target, not the recognition. The people depending on you to do your job correctly." Whether that job involved maintaining equipment or eliminating threats, the principle remained the same. Elena had found her perfect balance, primarily a supporter who ensured others could succeed, but ready to take direct action when support wasn't sufficient. The range incident became a turning point for the entire unit. Soldiers began treating support staff with greater respect, understanding that capabilities often hid behind humble roles. "Never judge someone by their current assignment," the commander told new arrivals. "Judge them by their willingness to do whatever's necessary to bring everyone home." A young SEAL would later remember, "The entire training ground went completely quiet. No more laughter, only respect." Elena continued her logistics work, but now with complete recognition of her capabilities and contributions. She'd proven that heroes often choose to serve in ways that don't require heroics. On paper, Elena remained listed as logistics, but in everyone's hearts, she had become a living legend. During a memorial ceremony, The commander stood before the wall engraved with fallen soldiers' names. He spoke slowly. Some people never seek glory. But we survived because of 121 anonymous shots. He didn't mention names, but everyone's eyes turned toward Elena, sitting quietly in the back row. After the ceremony, a SEAL approached, placing a unit patch in her hands, whispering, "Never forget." Elena gripped it tightly, tears glistening, but said nothing. The ceremony had been about honoring the fallen, but it became something more. Recognition of the living who'd ensured fewer names were added to that memorial wall. Elena's presence reminded everyone that heroism often worked behind the scenes, preventing tragedies rather than responding to them. "Ma'am," a young soldier approached her afterward, "my brother was in that Fallujah unit you saved. He came home because of you." Elena looked at him seriously. "He came home because he was brave enough to serve and lucky enough to survive. I just helped with the second part. Will you teach us some of those techniques?" Elena considered this. "I can teach you logistics procedures that might save lives someday. The other skills? I hope you never need them. But if we do, then you'll know they exist if absolutely necessary." The balance was perfect. Elena remained primarily focused on support work, but with acknowledgement that her specialized capabilities were available if needed. Other logistics personnel began receiving greater respect throughout the military. Elena's revelation had highlighted how much critical work happened behind the scenes. "She changed how we think about support roles," one officer noted. "Made us realize that the person organizing supplies might be the most qualified person on base." Elena continued her daily routines: inventory, maintenance, coordination. But now soldiers sought her input on tactical matters, understanding that her quiet competence extended beyond paperwork. The shooting range incident became part of unit lore. New arrivals were told the story as a reminder not to underestimate anyone based on their current assignment. "The colonel learned something important that day," soldiers would say. "Never assume you know what someone's capable of until you've seen them perform." Elena preferred it that way. Not celebrated for her past achievements, but respected for her ongoing contributions. She'd found the perfect role, someone who could prevent the need for heroics through excellent support work, but who remained ready to provide heroics if prevention wasn't enough. Sometimes the greatest strength was knowing when not to use your most impressive capabilities. The world often sees people through their smallest roles, but some individuals quietly carry entire team destinies on their shoulders. Elena Ward, logistics coordinator, held 121 confirmed eliminations and never sought recognition. The colonel who'd mocked her had to bow his head in silence. The commander's reminder echoed, "Never forget." Her story teaches us that exceptional people often choose ordinary roles because they understand that service matters more than status. They use their greatest capabilities quietly, preventing problems rather than solving them dramatically. The person organizing supplies might be the most qualified person in the room. The quiet professional maintaining equipment might be exactly the expert you need when everything falls apart. Elena proved that true strength often involves choosing not to demonstrate your most impressive abilities. Sometimes the greatest heroes are those who prevent the need for heroism. Recognition isn't always about what you've done. Sometimes it's about respecting someone's choice to do something different with extraordinary capabilities. If you believe in quiet stories like this one, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to SN Quiet Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten. Real people creating and telling stories, not mass-produced AI.